lot of people talked about the latest debate and they were like, well, I wanted to hear more policy and I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you did not. You wanted to be reassured by a cult leader that you felt good about that's it. It's
people are
comforter.
stupid. I mean, I don't want to say stupid because that's a strong term, and I'm not trying to be like holier than thou, like I'm some kind of fucking genius, because I'm obviously not. People are afraid, and they just want signs and symbols to tell them that they're on the right path, that they're doing the right thing, and they don't have to think too much about it. They just want to know they're on the right team, in the right club, in the right cult, and then, okay, I'm good. I don't have to think about this anymore because I chose red. You know what I mean? I go this way. And because when people start thinking too much and they start seeing behind the curtain, you know, the Wizard of Oz, he's not so friendly.
Brother, what's going on? You just got back from the Dominican Republic, huh?
Just got back.
How was that?
It's good, man. We completed the first phase of the project. We brought the container in, pulled it out, have it warehoused, and sold a bunch of it. And now I got people calling me. I think I'm going back the third week of October because there's more people that want to buy.
Wow. So, and what are you selling?
The industrial stretch film. It's like a plastic wrap. Industrial and like for pallets, like people that are shipping.
And they manufacture it there.
So no, it's manufactured here. We distribute it here in the States.
Oh, okay. And then you're selling it there.
Selling it there, yeah.
Wow. You're an exporter now.
Actually, yeah, add that to the fucking.
You know, it's funny to me.
The book's gonna be good, man. When I go in the ground and they tell the story, they're gonna say this guy, he really fucking did some shit.
You know, the thing about entrepreneurship is it's very simplistic, right? It's very much like buy low, sell high. Are you buying low enough to sell at a price that is going to cover all your expenses and give you enough profit to justify your time, the investment of your time? It's really that effing simple, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah,
That's
sure. It's true.
You should be able to boil it down to an Excel spreadsheet and go, where are we? How many per am I going to be able to sell? How quickly am I going to? Because then you've got time. How much time is it going to take me to sell these things? It sounds to me like you found something that is selling very, very quickly. You know?
Yeah, well, it's a commodity item that people need. You know what I mean? So the margins aren't so amazing, but it's a consistent thing that people order repeatedly and need all the time. And we've been in this business for a very long time, so we get it directly from the source. And people down there's a lot of like intermediaries, like between where it comes from and then when it gets to the final customer. So we have a little bit of an edge because we get it direct and doing it for a long time.
And you guys are cutting out intermediaries there, or are you having to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's awesome. Which, you sent me a really cool post that kind of we go back to this about business. And it's really, I think it's kind of a cool lead in. And it was how to start a cult.
Yeah.
Right. In Jiu Jitsu. And I was, but what I liked about it was that it's so important for today with politics, right? Because really what all politics is you're basically trying to start a cult. That's right.
Yep.
Where you're trying to create symbols that cut through so you don't have to use talking points. That's what the red MAGA hats are. That's what the Obama Hope sticker was. It's like who can most effectively do that, and whoever can most effectively do that and, communicate with symbols. I think it's more communicate with symbols than it is with anything else. Like a lot of people talked about the latest debate and they were like, well, I wanted to hear more policy and I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you did not. You wanted to be reassured by a cult leader that you felt good about that's it. It's
people are
comforter.
Stupid. I mean, I don't want to say stupid because that's a strong term and I'm not trying to be like holier than thou, like I'm some kind of fucking genius because I'm obviously not. But people, like what you said, people are afraid and they just want signs and symbols to tell them that they're on the right path, that they're doing the right thing, and they don't have to think too much about it. They just want to know they're on the right team, in the right club, in the right cult, and then, okay, I'm good. I don't have to think about this anymore because I chose red. You know what I mean? I go this way. And because when people start thinking too much and they start seeing behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz, he's not so friendly.
That's right. And that's the thing about, when people kind of try and ask me and railroad me into like political positions, I'm like, you don't, like I had someone I'm in Florida right now, and Florida's not a swing state, right? Florida is very much going red. Yeah, Republican. Yeah. And so they were asking me and kind of badgering me. And I was like, your vote doesn't count. My vote doesn't count here, right? Of course, we're going to vote, but it's the same thing with New York. Yeah, it's irrelevant. Or California, it's irrelevant. So let's cut to what you're really asking me. You really want to know if we're on the same team, because you need the reassurance to feel like, okay, because, humans feel better when they're in a bigger tribe. And they're in the right tribe. And that's what that's what this is all about. This whole cult thing. It goes back to our, thousands and thousands, millions of years of programming that program us to be tribal and to differentiate from others and to be like, okay, we're in a tribe, we're in this together. And that's religion. All it is.
It's religion, it's sports, it's sports, it's all of it.
Sports. Look at sports. Look at Apple. Look at, you've got your symbol, your Apple.
Are you
Nike,
Mac or are you PC?
Swoosh. It's 100%. All the same damn thing. And so when people try and get so high-minded about it, there are policy repercussions, but let's cut to the chase of why most people are voting. And most people are voting because that's their tribe. And that's their cult. Forget the word tribe. Tribe is what it was, is what it came from. But really, it's about the cult, And I want to wear this symbol. I want this sticker, it's freaking crazy, man.
And social media has become the ultimate vehicle to drive cult participation. It's amazing. Social media is the absolute quintessential perfect vehicle to drive this cult behavior.
Isn't it crazy? We live in the age, more than anything else, we live in the age of the cult, the television personality, who is it that can influencers. Be the most, who can be the most, who can master the media to where they can get millions and millions and millions and millions, like Taylor Swift with 236 million. They're called Swifties, right? It's a cult.
It's a cult.
It's a cult. Like the Kiss Army, Kiss, they used to have the Kiss Army, with the symbol with the two S's and
the Grateful Dead, man. The people, the Deadheads, same shit.
It's all the same. And politics are the exact same thing. And so are Jiu Jitsu, Jim. So I'm going to read off, like the first one was like the 4 ways to start a cult. And the first thing that they said was you need to worship the leader. It said unwavering loyalty, print a large poster, bow to it every day. The person is more than a martial artist now. They're infallible. Every aspect of their life is idolized. Bonus points if it's mandatory to prefix their name with master.
The master thing is amazing.
Yeah. For us in America, because we're not used to that. I think that because I think for us, the connotations of the master, we come from such a rich tradition of slavery in this country that I think we're like, been there, done that, don't really want that again.
Master connotates like this higher being, you know what I mean? Like this like superior, and it's not the fucking reality. You know what I mean? Like if the guy's really good at jujitsu and he's good at teaching it, that's cool. But, he probably, he might owe fucking 50 grand in his taxes and, still lives at his mom's house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's not a superior human. He has a particular skill set and, that's what the relationship should be based on.
Yeah. And that effect that humans tend to you know, we tend to project expertise in all facets, you know, of life. When someone is successful in one is kind of mind boggling, you know. Sometimes I'll listen to podcast hosts who have millions and millions and millions of followers, and I'll listen to them pontificate about legal issues like constitutional law and all this when they don't know anything that they're talking about. And I'm listening to them, you know, as a lawyer, I'm going, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. So then when you're talking about science and climate change, or you're talking about this or that, or with the effects of everything you're talking about outside of this little sphere that you're actually really, really good at, is probably a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, but no one wants to hear that.
And you know, I was talking the other day on other podcast, and somebody was saying like how, like, you know, if you're really into politics, you should really study deeply and like treat it the way sports fans. And I was like, but to what end? To what end? Like, if all of a sudden you make it your mission to like research every single thing, it's like, to what end? Like, what are you trying to, I believe what you're really trying to do is you're trying to validate yourself externally. You're trying to validate your fear. You're trying to find an answer that's going to make you feel less uneasy about your place in the world. And whereas like my personal opinion is, what you need to do is accept the fact that change is the only constant. There is no answer, and it's up to you to figure out like, what is your baseline, what is good enough for you, and how do you build a reality that works for you. And you know, all of your time and energy should be spent on that, not trying to get somebody else to provide you information to tell you that this is what you should be doing, you know?
Yeah, and the reality is, you know, our constitutional form of government in this country is a republic, which means that we hire, or we vote for and appoint and elect, you know, representatives that go, and we don't vote. We could have a direct democracy. We're set up for it in the sense that we have technology now, but we don't vote on every single issue. We have representatives that do that for us. So we have a representative in the Senate. We have a representative in Congress. We have, in other countries, they have parliamentarians. So you have experts. Your job is to vote for those people, learn as much as you can during that, you know, that 2 years or 4, you know, at the end, and then you vote, and it should be, there's nothing else you can do after that, you know?
My take is that we're not a democracy. We're a benevolent oligarchy, you know, like that. Yeah. That's my take. Yeah. My take is that, and we've always been, you know what I mean? Like the forefathers and everything, like those were the bosses, just like we got the bosses now. And the bosses are made up of the lawyers on Capitol Hill and the people that are running the big companies that are moving the money around. And I think for the most part, this is, you know, potentially the most fair place to live. You know what I mean? Like it's the most balanced place in regards to your ability to do things.
I don't know about that. I mean, you look at Scandinavian countries where they have much greater, in Norway, their oil resources are distributed amongst they don't have like these massive companies that own their oil, right? It's distributed amongst everyone, and everyone makes money from it. Yeah. And so if you look at higher standards of happiness, and less income inequality, you got to look to Scandinavian countries now. And they have amazing democracy. They have the best healthcare. They have, people are most happy there, much happier than they are here. I think there's a great correlation between a society's cohesion and the happiness in a society, and it's directly related to the amount of income inequality. You know, when that income is distributed across the richer people are as a whole, the happier they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're much more of a competitive nation. And I'm not saying we don't have a great country. We do. But when you compare it, the opportunities are not as great to jump ahead, but you don't fall through the cracks like you do.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the opportunities
in America, one illness and you're bankrupt, you know?
Yeah, and the competition is so severe. So it's like, yeah, maybe you can get ahead faster and more substantially, but like at what cost?
And what percentage for the overall population are actually going to make that jump?
Yep.
If you look at the percentage, you can't just look at the people that won the lottery and point to them and justify it as an excuse for, hey, the lottery is the way to get ahead.
Yeah,
you know, you have to look at it from a how is it benefiting most people in society? We tend to push people up and say, look, this is what can happen. Yeah, okay, it can happen, but how does it affect most people, the policy? So anyway.
Here we are.
So number 2 was isolate from the local jiu-jitsu community.
Can't be
every other. Yeah. Explain that after I'm done here. Yeah. So it says every other school is dangerous. Stay here where it's safe. Open mats? No. Inviting strangers to train here? Are you crazy? Competing? Oh, we don't really do that. So you kind of like, it's funny, like with the cult, you isolate, and you do see gyms that are like that. I remember, you know, when I think it was more of an issue when I started, like in 2012, but it was like, you're not allowed to train at other schools.
Yeah.
You know? And I had to speak to the Mendez brothers and be like, listen, I'm traveling with the UFC writing this book. I'm going to train at other schools. I'm researching jiu-jitsu. So because of that, I was very upfront being like, and they're like, okay, we understand, you know. So I don't know if they've ever had a conversation with people and said, you can't train other places, or if it was just, I don't know. Because I never got that vibe. I was very upfront about it. Go ahead.
I've seen some wild shit. So the first gym that I ever trained at, there's just 2 young guys who kind of branched out on their own and started something. And their whole thing was just no politics, just jiu-jitsu. And, you know, but they eventually got corrupted by politics and cult-like shit, and that happened anyway. But what was interesting was one of them was a purple belt under, you know, around here on Long Island, you know, a really well-known Brazilian black belt, one of the first guys to come over in the New York scene, you know, very well-known guy. And when the kid started the business, you know, he set it up and he went to him before they officially opened, you know, after he made the decision to do it, but before they officially opened and really had any members. And he went to him and he said, I just want to make sure that, you know, you understand I'm not looking to poach from your, you know, in good faith. And like the guy like assembled like a tribunal of his black belts like in front of him, and like they like shunned him. They cast him out. Like this is fucking like, you know, we're on the Mayflower heading over to the fucking, you know, Pilgrims
for starting his own gym.
Yeah, and it was so ridiculous. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is when I first kind of got into this, like 9 years ago. This is like when I first got into jiu-jitsu, and I knew like right away, like that whole like, you know, I ain't the type of motherfucker to have a master on any level. So you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, it's just that game was never going to be for me. And when we started our thing here, Danger Room, it was always very like, we are an open program. Anybody can come here and train from wherever. You don't have to, you know, be, you know, like on our team. If you want to be on our team, you can be. And like, you know, there is no, because like cross training at different schools is the best shit you could do. Like, cause you learn stuff from different people. And the only reason it's the cult thing, and it's a business thing, it's a money thing. The only reason why anybody doesn't want to, and you know, and I can't speak from the favelas in Brazil, because I mean I wasn't there when they started that, you know, what their reasoning was. But nowadays it's like, if anybody acts that way, it's because they don't want to lose business. They're afraid you're going to leave their gym and go join somebody else.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, cross training for me has been absolutely invaluable. First off, I've had I've been really blessed in that I've trained with the best in the world ever. You know, not at my gym, just at my gym, but everywhere. Yeah. You know, so I've dropped in, I've trained at every single gym, from Marcelo Garcia to Henzo to, you know, Unity to London. It's everywhere, you know, the best of the best, and Atos. And so that was been just a personally enriching thing, but it's also helped my game. I was telling someone the other day that, you know, I got my black belt almost 5 years ago, and I think my game has changed more since I got my black belt, and I've been training everywhere else. My game is completely revamped now compared to what it was. So I used to play a lot of like reverse De La Riva and Nogi. I'm specifically talking in Nogi. My game's pretty much the same in Gi, De La Riva, lapel guard, etc. But I really training so much with Ross Nichols in London, I really have brought butterfly into my game where it's my main game now, which is not my main game. My main game in Gi is open guard. I play all different guards at one time, and now I'm there with Nogi. But it definitely is that those entries tend to lead into butterfly or butter half. And that took me like 4 or 5 years of training all around the world for getting advice from people like Cyborg at Fight Sport and, Ross Nichols, that I didn't develop that game at my home gym. So
it's important, like, especially like when you roll at your home gym and you're rolling with the same guys all the time, like what I think is one of the most powerful things is when you go to a new gym and like all of a sudden you have an incredible session and you're like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like you dominate and you're like, wow, like, because like nobody knows your game there. And like,
nobody knows your game and they're out to get you, whether they want to admit it or not.
It's jujitsu against jujitsu. And it's like, who is going to have the better jiu-jitsu for that matchup is who's going to win. And like, you learn so much, and vice versa. Sometimes you get your fucking ass kicked, you know what I mean? And you realize like, wow, I have holes in my game, or I'm much better at this than I thought I was. It's just, I train with all higher level guys at my place and so on and so forth. And it's like such a good learning experience.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's also, you bring up a really good point, which is, when guys come and train at your gym and they're a visitor, that's an awesome experience too, because again, you're cross-pollinating, incest, it breeds weakness. And when we have diversity of that cross-training, and it definitely makes us stronger. So
100%.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That was the good thing about training at AOJ is we had so many people, like, I don't know, 800,000 members and people coming in all the time. So you always were pushing it. But yeah, I agree. Totally. 100%. No doubt. Here, I'm going to, can you see that? There we go. Number 3. Can you see that?
No.
Banish the infidels. Every few years, you'll have a few students with radical behavior, like cross-training, learning from instructionals, or refusing to pay for belt gradings. You can't let this continue. Banish them immediately. So they don't even want people watching. They don't even want people
watching
training, watching instructional videos. Oh my gosh. I've learned so much from friggin' videos. I think that's pretty extreme though, right? I don't know if I've ever heard that. Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. But,
I've heard professors poo-poo instructionals. I've heard like professors be like, oh yeah, you see shit on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. Like almost as if like, you need to learn it. But like, it's like, in what world would you tell anybody who wants to sharpen their craft to not try to immerse themselves in education?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty extreme. I can't imagine too much of that, but but I'm sure it happens. I mean, now that, when you're talking about, this behavior, like stretching outside of like a metaphor for life into politics, for sure. I mean, you get people that on one side only watch like MSNBC, right? And on the other side only watch Fox News, and they're like, I would never watch that, or I would never read that. I would never,
Or they'll write you off. Like if they find out that you are a Fox guy when they're a CNN guy, they'll immediately have reservations about being friends with you, or how, how to perceive you. And, like they'll judge you based on that before even knowing who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember one time I had a friend of mine who's like so into politics, really, really right wing now, and I was like challenging on some things, and I was like, we were talking about immigration, and I was like, you do realize that so many of these people are fleeing countries where they just don't even have water. They have zero water. They cannot drink water. They're dying. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I sent him an article on Mexico City and how they've been nearing like complete disaster with zero water. And he was like, well, how come I never heard of this? I'm like, because you read one news site and watch one television show. You have to freaking diversify. I remember when I was in college, they had us read, they had us subscribe to the Christian Science Monitor, and that in no way religious, but that was at that time the de facto best, most objective news source in the world. And the news articles in there, I couldn't even believe it. It was almost weird to read because it was an objective view of the United States that wasn't this big nationalist, we're the greatest country in the world. It was more like, this is what the issues are. This is where, and I was like, how in the world have I never freaking heard any of this? How in the world is this a newspaper that is filled with articles that are so different and objective?
Well, when you just think about how information is disseminated, and I've always had a healthy understanding of this, even since I was a young kid, is like, I don't take anything at face value. I always assume that there's another angle, or somebody's got an agenda, or, like, to me, there's no such thing as like truth. It's like, what does that even mean? And but people are addicted to that. People need to feel certain. People need to feel as though, the propaganda of we're the best country in the world, or the propaganda of, the opposite, America's a piece of shit and fucking, you know what I mean? And like, because you have those people too. You have the people that are like super, super left, and they're like, this is a horrible place and we take advantage. And like, but all of these narratives are an attempt to confirm some sort of feeling they have about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue.
I think you just hit on the main issue for the podcast without even me realizing where we were going with this. But it's the reality is that our minds do not like chaos and unpredictability, right? We evolved in the savannas with no claws and no teeth. We were prey. And it wasn't until we tribed up and were able to become and use tools and become predators and start to hunt in packs and all that, and that we started to dominate. But a lot of what we're talking about comes back to that kind of programming. And so, in the wild, if we would see uncertainty, those of us, if there was a rustle in the bush, let's say, those of us who immediately jump to, oh shit, we're about to get attacked, we're going to die, those people or progenitors of ours usually lived, right? But those who were like, oh, let me go check out what it is, and then got eaten, the ones who were more like, I don't care, laissez-faire, they didn't live long enough to reproduce. So over millions of years, we inherited brains that are ostensibly paranoid and anxious.
It's wild.
That's pretty wild. That's millions and millions of years of programming.
Yeah.
And now I've inherited this brain that is paranoid and anxious and judgmental, right? Jumps right to judgment very quickly and is very tribal, right? I've been dealing with this brain has evolved over, 10,000 generations, millions of years. And now I have to figure out how to train it so it's none of those things, right?
Yeah.
That's a fucking difficult proposition because I don't want to live my life being paranoid and anxious and judgmental and superstitious.
Fucking A. Vitruvian 5,000.
To me, that's the essence of what Zen is and what Zen training is to, first of all, become aware of it, that our brains are like this, and become aware of our blind spots. And then starting to sit in those blind spots and really objectively like view. So even if I can't see where the blind spots are, I can see around. I can look around. I know they're there. And so, I think a big part for me is learning. And when I work with people, clients, is getting them to sit. This is why for me, Jesse, competition in jiu-jitsu is so important, because it puts us in a place where we are going to feel a maximum amount of anxiety. Do you feel anxiety when you compete?
100%.
Everyone does. And anyone that tells you they don't is full of shit. Because I know, I've been around them all. And the wise ones are, go ahead.
My professor, the guy I've told you about him, but this guy is like, private security, former Green Beret paratrooper, and, jumped out of fucking helicopters and, taking down dictators and stuff. He, 20 some odd year competitor. I don't think he's ever actually been submitted in competition. And he's a good friend of mine. We know each other for a long time. And I was talking to him. He did Gi Worlds, a few weeks ago or whenever it was. And I never really asked him about this. And I said, like, how you feeling mentally? Are you nervous? And he goes, I'm nervous every single time. And I was kind of surprised because I've known him for a long time. I've never asked him. But he's as cool as a cucumber in every scenario ever. And he said, every time I compete, right before it happens and the days leading up, it's like I'm having panic attacks. And I was just so blown away because like this guy is like the Rock of Gibraltar. Right. He's like the Rock of Gibraltar in every aspect. And he said, like, I've been in combat scenarios. And he said, in combat scenarios, bullets can be ringing. And once the bullets start to ring, I'm cool. I'm cold as ice, because then the game kicks in and I am prepared and I've trained for this. He said, but competing is the same thing as like when you're in the helicopter about to jump. Like the lead up to the uncertainty is the killer. Once we're at war, then that's it. You're going to do what you're going to rise to your level of training. You're going to do what you're prepared to do. Your body's going to go on autopilot and you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. But that anticipation of what's going to happen and the unknowns, that is what brings everybody to their knees.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is so awesome. And I don't think that the goal we should ever think that we're not going to be nervous, that we're not going to encounter situations in life that are going to trigger us, because that's essentially what it is. We get triggered in the sense that, I like my nervous system to be at a very Zen zero state where I'm completely calm and flowing. And as I get triggered, my nervous system starts to rise up to 3, 4, 5, 6. And to me, the training is immediately recognizing that it's happening and starting to get comfortable with it, because it's not going away.
Yeah, it's being better at struggling.
And just being comfortable with this level of anxiety, right? Of competition anxiety, of whatever it is, what public speaking anxiety, whatever it is, getting comfortable with it, just being like, all right, here we go, mama. This is it, but we're still going to do it. And so I think there was a Zen teacher named Pema Chodron, and she's like, listen, if any of you think that through meditation or, even this life, no matter what you do, that everything's going to be calm and predictable, then you have picked the wrong reality to be born into.
Yeah.
Because this is not what it is. This is not reality.
No.
It's going to be chaotic, but can I get comfortable with that chaos and just being like, yeah, I'm cool because I walk through. To me, I kind of distance it, and it's like over here, all the anxiety and the turmoil and all that. And I'm like, but I'm walking to the mat and I'm going to compete and I'm going to do my thing.
I think that's what's great about competition, is that you're putting yourself over and over again, and you're reinforcing the fact that, like, yeah, you're going to be nervous, but you've done this before and you got through it and you're able to do it, and you're continuing to prove to yourself that I can rise to the occasion when
I could just, I can be comfortable. I can walk on the mat, whether I win or lose. I had the ability, you know, there comes with the signing up for competition. The anxiety starts right then.
Yeah, sure. When you're
picking the competition, clicking it, you went through that. Most people won't do that.
Yep.
Right. Then you made weight, then you trained, then you got to the gym, to the location. You flew there, you did whatever you had to do. Then you were able to, you know, going through all these steps is such a friggin' accomplishment. So what else in life are we really going to find where we really, really test ourselves, where it's only us, not a company, not a corporation, it's me. That's right. Now, team's going to help me get ready, but it's not a team sport. It is me, you know, hopefully with a coach, but sometimes not, getting out there. So, so that's, you know, for me, that's like a big, I think it's important too, because when we're triggered and our new nervous system has risen, is on the, you know, coming up, like we're at 4 or 5, to really be able to say, okay, I'm here right now. And we talk about this many times. When I'm in this situation where my nervous system is triggered and I have this low level energy or higher level energy, how am I coping with it? Because if I'm not aware of it, then I'm coping and I'm going to the refrigerator and I'm eating and I'm grazing and I'm doing, or even boredom. Boredom can be something that we have to cope with. But I think it goes to the level of, you know, eating, you know, disorders. I think grazing is an eating disorder. Binging is an eating disorder, you know.
Definitely.
So, and that's a coping mechanism.
Definitely.
So getting comfortable, this goes, if we reverse engineer it, you know, eating and losing weight and getting ripped, a lot of it is learning to get comfortable in uncomfortable with discomfort in the body, in our external environment.
That's it.
It's a mission. It's a mission. And then finally, let's see what we have here. Now that your member, this is great. This is great for right now. Now that your members are a few years deep, it's time to cash out. This is number 4, profit. Use words like community to get them to clean the gym, teach kids classes, take private lessons, buy branded merchandise at a huge markup, and attend expensive seminars.
Oh yeah.
Consider opening affiliated gyms. Rinse and repeat.
Well, what about, and I've seen this in different environments, like gyms that refuse to let people use like non-branded rash guards or gis. Like if you want to train there, you can't come with your own, you know, and I've always thought that was just insane.
Insane. Yeah. Insane. Crazy. And AOJ, it was, you had to wear a white gi, but you could wear any white gi.
Yeah. I mean, that's reasonable. That's reasonable.
Yeah. But to wear, like, you got to wear the uniform.
It's like in order to come there for open mat, you got to buy a rash guard. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
You got to wear this gi or you got to wear this rash guard. You got to have the uniform. It's a cult, man. It's a cult. That's how you profit. You got to sell NFTs and madness. Crazy. Anyways, this was a cool one, man. It's I think it's timely in the sense that, you know, this is what's happening this month. It's going to be madness.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Everything else good? You watching anything cool?
No, man. I'm just, you know, like orbiting around the sun, trying to keep all my planets aligned.
Easier said than done. I'm finally just finishing up, what was it? Time Bandits. And it's cool. I'm really digging it.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. Very kids. Your kids would friggin' love it. In fact, it's so educational with history that I think all kids should watch it.
I'm going to check it out.
Very, very cool. All right. Awesome. Till next week, brother. This was a good one, man.
Yes, sir.